With so many famous faces popping up with cameos, is this the fantasy children's version of the bear?
Poseidon, Zeus, where are all these gods we know and love? We want more gods.
Red and Red Real Reviews outruns monsters and joins the demigods with Percy Jackson and the Olympians, Season 2 on Disney+. I knew within the first 5 minutes I was going to hate it, but then it was so bad. Ugh.
Nobody wants this?
Like, literally nobody wants this.
Internet's going to get mad at me for this one. There's no fat elf. You know?
Duty, which I can't say without laughing. Duty, like I'm English.
John B. and Sarah are, I don't want to sound like a loser for saying this, but they're adorable. I'll admit it.
Welcome back to another episode of Red and Red Real Reviews. So today we're covering a Disney Plus show, which doesn't happen very often, but I don't know if it's the last time we did one was the first season of this show, two seasons ago of ours. So today it's Percy Jackson and the Olympians, which is, it was literally over 2 years ago when we were still had this little baby show of Red and Red. So that was when we were green in season 1 of the show. Now we're on season 3.
Little baby.
So little babies. So let us know what you think of the podcast as a whole, or a possible show we should have on our radar to cover by emailing us at redandredrealreviews@gmail.com and following us on Instagram at redandredrealreviews. And that's the letter N and real spelled with 2 E's. So here's where we pick things up in season 2 after it's been a full 2 years since we've seen this show. So Percy's back at home living all happily with his mom, Sally. And there's a caveat to that because he has to share his house with another guy. And don't worry, Sally's not dating someone else. It's just this homeless kid, Tyson, that Sally has taken in out of the goodness of her heart. And then we have Grover kind of on his own quest. Then we have Annabeth out trying to live a normal life, just trying to be, I don't know how old they're supposed to be. Are they supposed to be like 14 years old?
Yeah, there was a funny little sense of timing in this because it almost feels like they built in that kind of puberty phase into the gap between seasons.
Oh, like a little buffer room of like,
yeah.
Oh, it's been this period of time and we haven't seen each other in a while, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Although they don't make reference to it, but to me it feels like there's a period of time that transpires between seasons. Doesn't feel like it picks up one right after the other.
Yeah, and you know what? So the last thing we had is we ended the first season with not really knowing where Luke is or what he's doing, but we can gather that he's basically planning this little rebellion, or he's about to get this little rebellion started. And I actually, even though it's been a full 2 years, I was happy to see that the kids in the cast haven't really changed all too much.
Yeah.
Right? Like they didn't really seem to have changed too much. I was happy to see that the kid who plays Percy Jackson, he seemed to be fully through the worst part of puberty. So like his voice is low pretty much consistently. So we don't get those like awkward voice cracks or anything this season. Didn't seem like it.
Yeah, they and I don't know whether the people in charge of the show, producers, whatever, I don't know if like maybe that was their idea as far as planning out the unseen time gap to kind of build in to kind of avoid that awkward Harry Potter effect, Stranger Things effect, that they just kind of like build it into the timeline, whether it was spoken or unspoken, so it didn't seem so weird that it'd been a significant chunk of time and the kids were older.
Yeah, I mean, it really didn't feel like that much time had passed. I almost kind of gathered it. I think they talk about it in the second episode. We had 2 episodes that were new, and I'm pretty sure I don't know if Annabeth makes reference to it of like that period of time where she's trying to be like a normal kid. And it almost
Yeah.
seems like it's kind of the time period of like a summer. So like 3 or 4 months, but I mean they don't really
Yeah,
they don't they
that'll be
don't
a hard
really make
sell.
reference to a specific amount of time, but I mean I didn't think that the kids visually look that much different, if at all.
No, especially Grover and Annabeth. I mean, Percy, you could tell he's
Yeah.
old. Percy, you could tell he's older, but Grover and Annabeth really don't look. I don't know if maybe in real life, I didn't look this up, of course, but I don't know if real life maybe they're a little older than the actor that plays Percy
Yes.
anyway, but
I
they
think
just
they are.
maybe they're just shorter, or they're kind of behind the growth behind the eight ball or whatever.
I think if I remember correctly, they're all a few years older. Like if they're supposed to be, she says something about being a normal middle school kid. I think she says middle school. So maybe they're in like maybe they're supposed to be like eighth grade. So would they be like 13 or 14? I don't know, but I want to say the actor who plays Percy is maybe like 16 or 17 in real life.
hmm
I think he's a couple years older than what he was cast as. Um, but as far as with these first two episodes that we were able to see for the second season, what were kind of your first impressions? What were you thinking as far as what you hoped to see this season?
well, I thought, and I will get to, we'll expand upon this a little later on, but I really thought that we were going to dig more into the resolution between Percy and his father, Poseidon. Like, because I felt like season one, like that was the big unknown. I mean,
Yeah.
he goes to his mother's house, but there's also this big lingering question of, oh, they just started to meet each other, and he doesn't hate his father anymore. Like, so I kind of thought that there's going to be a bit of conflict resolution there.
Yeah, they only teased it a little bit in the first season. So I was kind of hoping to see a little bit more of that as well. And I mean, maybe we will. Down the line, I think, is there 6 to 8 episodes in this season? Like the
Um,
first season was 8 episodes. So hopefully we see a little bit more of that. Yeah, there always kind of is that, I guess, like, well, I mean, they are gods, but there is this like all-seeing thing of like, okay, well, even when you don't think, your father Poseidon is kind of like looking over you and seeing
mm.
what happens to you, like seeing if he can help or he can choose to help or not. So there is that aspect to things, but yeah, for the most part we don't like he's always just kind of talked about like, oh, my dad this and my dad that, and all the feelings involved with that, but of course we don't see him most of the time.
Especially, it's probably a hard emotion for Percy to grasp, considering the fact that Poseidon has been set up to the audience's eyes as this kind of philanderer, womanizer kind of guy.
Well, all the gods really are, if you get down, if you think about it, right? I mean,
Yeah, but
if the fact
they really set Poseidon up like that in this.
yeah, I mean, the fact that there's a whole camp for half-blood kids, like you
Mhm.
have to assume that these all of these gods are philanderers.
Yeah.
um so getting into your one thing, what was top of mind for you as to why you would continue to watch this second season?
There's a little bit of a lot going on here. Um, there's several conflict angles. Sometimes they tie them together nicely. Sometimes they're operating as two ships passing in the night. The Luke arc where he's kind of off going rogue, and he doesn't really give the feeling that he wants to communicate what he's dealing with. He's just kind of off on his own mission, and
Yeah.
the kids, have varying degrees of wanting to try and help Luke or fix Luke or get Luke back or whatever the case may be. Then you've got this quest to find Grover. He's lost in some alternate dimension. He was trying to find Pan, and
Mm,
he's kind of lost out there. And Percy and Annabeth can only communicate with him through this dreamscape scenario.
yeah.
They fall asleep. They have this dream. I was like, oh, hey, there's Grover, and then they wake up, and they're all back to reality or whatever their own definitions of
Mm,
reality may be. Um, and then aside from Hermes popping up at the end, you don't really see the well-known gods we always think of, the Zeus, Aphrodite,
yeah.
Hades. So like we don't really, and even Poseidon to a certain extent, even though obviously there's a little bit more emphasis on him as
Mm,
far as his connection to the story. So there's a lot of different angles going on, and for a kid show, it does kind of feel like they do tell the story in a more serious sense. It doesn't feel silly, but there's
mm.
also for a kid show, there's also a lot of depth of storytelling that younger viewers. It's kind of a show that you've got to be a little bit more of a mature viewer to kind of grasp it all.
Yeah, I think it's kind of in that my husband and I were talking about it last night because he just started watching the first season. I told him you would like this. He's into mythology like I am. So I mean, we're kind of talking about it and the fact that I think the movies as well as the show are sort of meant to be like hitting in that PG-13 spot, even maybe a little bit lower, just because there is no language, like maybe a little bit of violence, but it's not, it's kind of in that middle area. Like it's supposed to appeal to adults, but also to be okay for kids. And you do have that, fantasy magical element of it where, you have these zany characters popping up and uh, monsters or people in mythology popping up. But yeah, I mean, I think it is kind of meant to hit that sweet spot. So I guess it does differ a little bit between the first season where, I mean, the first season was pretty much just like Percy setting out on this quest, right? I mean, that was pretty much the whole thing. Like, this is a little bit more complicated for this second season because they're setting up a few subplots. You have what Grover's doing over here, you have what Luke is doing over here. At some point, I think we're going to see everything collide. It's just that everything is all separate right now. And actually, to your point of not seeing any well-known mythology figures, I'm sort of anticipating and I'm wondering what they're going to do with that because I don't know if you remember, but the actor who played Zeus, Lance Reddick, he passed away
That's
um
right. Yeah, that's
a
right.
couple years ago. So they have had to recast, and I don't know if Zeus is going to appear in this season, maybe later in the season. I don't know if we're going to see him again, like if we're going to see obviously a new actor. So I'm interested to see what they're going to do with that, and if they introduce any more like other big figures in mythology. Like, is it going to be a kind of a big reveal like it was for Zeus in the first season?
Maybe it'll. Well, I'm almost thinking, okay, maybe they open up the pocketbook and Mahershala Ali comes in or something like that,
Oh, geez.
or your buddy from The Diplomat. He kind of has a similar look to Lance Reddick. So
Oh, what's that? Yeah,
David something.
I
He's
had
a G.
predicted that. I had predicted that that actor from The Diplomat is going to be like the next big thing.
Yeah. So
Like,
I didn't see it and scroll ahead on IMDb. So I'm maybe for all we know, I'm sure the actor's probably buried in there somewhere. But
yeah, yeah. I think, I mean, even a guy like that would be a pretty good choice for Zeus
yeah,
replacement. I mean, I'm curious to see who they got to replace him when they show us Zeus again.
yeah. David Giazzi, is that it?
Oh, I have no idea.
Yeah, I think that's it.
Someday maybe we'll have a fact checker, but
Yeah,
until now we just have to be like, oh, I guess we'll look it up later, and
yeah,
we can't live fact check it.
yeah. Well, sometimes things
um
pop into your head at the moment's notice, and you're like, "Oh man, I didn't even think about that before." I just was right in point.
Yeah, yeah. So we'll probably randomly be like David such and such,
Yeah,
in 10 minutes from now.
yeah.
Um so also kind of in that same vein, my one thing to watch for is all the cameos. And obviously a show that is not an equal comparison, but a show that we've covered that packs a lot of celeb cameos is The Bear, and obviously that's like a we've talked about The Bear being more of a drama than anything else. So obviously it's a different genre completely than this Disney Plus somewhat kid show. But I think the mythology aspect of this show is what makes the cameos so fun, because you're sort of wondering what unexpected creature or monster or person in mythology will a famous person play.
Yeah.
And obviously there's no huge stars in this. It's not like Brad Pitt is popping up in Percy Jackson or anything, but there are so many famous faces, and there were in the first season. And there were even a handful of famous faces in just the first two episodes, and I'm not going to ruin that for anyone, just because that's the fun, is seeing who pops up as what. But obviously, in the first season, you mentioned Hermes. So obviously, we can say you're going to see Lin-Manuel Miranda again, reprising his role of Hermes. You're going to see Jason Mantzoukas. I don't know how to, oddly enough, I don't know how to pronounce these fancy Greek names, even though we're dealing with mythology.
Guess
So
that is Greek, isn't it?
we'll see him pop up as Dionysus. Obviously, we see Chiron return again for a little bit, and hopefully we see more of him. And yeah, so I'm just excited to see who else pops up. The fact that we had a handful of people pop up in these first two episodes, it's kind of like, ooh, who's gonna pop up next, and in what funny or quirky way, or what unexpected role are they gonna play? We had in the first season Megan Mullally play like this like creature monster thing. So it's just, you never know what's gonna happen next.
And there's another one who is a brand new antagonist to this, and I totally misplaced the actor, but he's a character. He played a character that we both had very fond memories in a show near and dear to our cinematic hearts.
Yeah, a show that we've covered somewhat recently. So if you do
Connect the dots.
try this, yeah, if you do try this show out, you'll see him pop up and you'll be like, "Oh," and it might take you a minute to be like, "Why do you know that guy?" But
No,
you'll
yeah,
think of it.
I actually totally misplaced him. I was thinking of the guy from Parks and Rec, the office manager turned sommelier. So that's the only hint maybe I'll give people.
Yeah, we'll just give you a hint. We don't want to spoil, but
Yeah,
it might take you a bit to realize who he is and where he's from. But once you do, you'll kind of think it's funny. It's
yeah.
a funny role.
And I've
Um,
noticed that, like the names you brought up, they're faces I know, but they're not faces I can immediately associate to roles, you know?
yeah, it's just those people that we talk about it all the time, those people that you don't really identify with anything specific in their filmography because they've been in so much. They've had
Yeah,
bit parts in a million different things that you don't really assign one specific role to them. But it's like Jason Mantzoukas. I couldn't really tell you what I know him from, but I just know him. He's
yeah.
been a comedic actor. Like, he always plays kind of outrageous characters, and he's definitely popped up in something I've seen, so I know his face immediately. But yeah, and I think that's the caliber of cameos in this show. We might not always know what these people's names are, but we immediately recognize their faces, and that's the fun of it, is seeing where their face pops up.
And I mean, to your point about a very famous face having a short-term cameo in the role of a god, a well-known god, that's something that could fit in because this show is so centered on the newer characters, the kids, lesser known
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
actors, lesser known characters, and building them up. It does create a very feasible scenario where a famous actor, I'm not gonna say it's Brad Pitt, obviously, but someone like that could step in and, be someone like oh, who was the one Achilles? Who was the one that was obsessed? Of course, he actually played Achilles in the past, I think. But but like some random god like that,
Yeah.
that is not going to have a transformative effect on the show, but they kind of fill that in, and it's like, oh, that was cool, and then they're gone and you don't see them again, but it was just kind of a fun little moment to see someone dig in it.
Right. And that's the idea, is that they're these actors are playing gods. So it's like what a mic drop it can be if you
Hmm.
have this huge actor come in and just, do this one scene, or it's this big reveal. And then like, yeah, like we maybe don't have to see them again, but we just have that surprising moment of, wow, they got such and such to play this god on this show, which is, I mean, they're Disney Plus, so they could probably reel
Afford it.
in anybody. Yeah, they could probably afford it with the budget. They could literally afford anybody if they wanted to. They could afford Tom Hanks probably if they wanted to play a god. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so now that we've seen 2 episodes of season 2, what can we tell everyone? Should they watch season 2 of Percy Jackson and the Olympians?
I was very much looking forward to this one coming back, and I'm
Mm,
glad on the topic of 2 episodes coming out. I'm glad they did drop two at once because I felt something was a little lacking after the first episode.
mm-hmm.
So I'm glad they gave a second episode to kind of continue the story along and leave the audience wanting more throughout
Yeah.
the remainder of the season. Because if it's something like season one and it's a shorter amount of episodes, you kind of do want to progress the story in a faster way. You don't want to drag it out, and the next thing you know, it's the second to last episode, and you've got all these unanswered questions that you want to resolve, and God forbid we have to wait another 2 years for it.
I know. And to your point, yeah, it wasn't like the first episode was boring or anything. Like there was somewhat of a big reveal in the first episode, but it didn't really end on a cliffhanger, should we say. So, yeah, it was perfect that they gave us the second episode as well, because I don't know that the first episode would have been able to stand on its own and really give us the momentum to want to see, like eagerly see, like, oh my god, I can't wait until the next episode drops next week, like, to keep us wanting more. So it was perfect that they chose to do it that way, because it gave us a little bit more of what we were wanting, I think.
And I mean, it's ironic that these Disney Plus shows, the quality ones seem to be the ones that they've cast younger actors in. Percy
Mm-hmm.
Jackson has a certain amount of quality to it. There was another show, I'm gonna get the title wrong, but it was like The Secret of Sulphur Creek or Springs Cave or something like that. That was had a little bit more of a depth of story to it as well.
Mm-hmm.
So they really, despite in spite of all that Disney money, they really haven't hit a lot of home runs other than these shows featuring younger actors, and the Star Wars stuff generally is of higher quality. But it's interesting that these younger actor ones that they do are the ones that feel like a little bit more, gravitas.
Yeah, or I guess they can't really lean on it as much these days because people are not really craving it or buying. I think people have superhero fatigue, so
Hmm.
they can't really capitalize off the Marvel stuff anymore. And a few years ago they had the Loki show, which only ran for 2 seasons because that's just how long the story arc was. And then the Hawkeye show, which I really enjoyed. But aside from that, yeah, they Disney hasn't hit a lot of home runs. So I mean, the best thing they can do is continue with this. But I was, because it had been a full 2 years, I was a little bit nervous as to whether it was gonna, like, are we gonna have that like Stranger Things thing where we're like, okay, things are very different. Like, is it gonna be just as good as the first season? And then it's of course the second season, which is the sophomore season. So you're like, is it gonna be as good as the first? Is it just gonna pale in comparison and just not really have the same lightning in a bottle? But to me it seems so far like it's very much continuing in the same direction, and it seems like it's going to be just as consistent as the first season. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm definitely going to watch it. I'm looking forward to more mythology, hopefully.
Yeah, I'm in on it. I'm definitely plan on keeping up with it. And the only thing I kind of felt lacking, tying back to my previous point about Poseidon, is like I really felt like they're doing a slow burn here, bringing him back into the storyline, and I was really expecting that to be a focal point here. So
Yeah.
I hope there's, even if it's like just some very tertiary references, like at least try
Hmm.
to keep that somewhat in the mix, so it's not like something that wait until the end, and then you get like a half a resolution on it because you have to continue that story into the next season, and then it doesn't really fill that void, because I think that it's so part and parcel to how Percy's built as a person that
Hmm.
I think that resolution really has to happen here.
Yeah, I agree. And especially seeing, we did see a little bit of Poseidon in the first season, and especially you sort of get the sense that he and Sally actually had a genuine
Yeah,
love, and you sort of get the sense that it was painful for Poseidon and Sally to both realize, like, look, like in a perfect world where we were both mortals or both human, like this would be
this would have
a
worked.
real love. But the fact that like we're separated by these worlds because we're two different beings, like we can't really be together. So like you kind of have that heartbreak feel that, Percy is like a child of real love, but his parents can't be together. So like I want to see more of that. I want to see more of like Sally dealing with the pain that like she can't be with her son's father, or like, just kind of like that wound of like reminding her of what could have been, or like I want to see more of that. And like not even just, Percy dealing with the his father not being around, like that deadbeat dad kind of thing,
Yeah,
but I want to see it more from Sally's angle as well, because and Sally, the actress who plays her, is another one of those actresses who you recognize but you don't really know what she's from. But I thought she was excellent in the first season. Like I want to see more of her. Like she like tugged at my heartstrings.
yeah.
Like she like made me ugly cry. Like I want to see more of that. I want to see more of like the Sally Poseidon love story. What went wrong with that? Like if we could get some flashbacks, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, like there's and like you said, there's like a tragedy to this.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
it's really sad.
yeah, but I mean overall, I mean nothing upset or torqued me the wrong
Yeah.
way, or like you always said, is there's usually something to find annoying. There's nothing
Yeah.
annoying
No.
about this, so it's just a solid watch.
Yeah, it's a solid watch. And we hope you think we're a solid watch. So if you enjoy listening to our show, we would appreciate it if you gave us a 5-star review and let us know what you think of each episode. Also, be sure to hit that follow or subscribe button so you know when new episodes release. We try our best to be regular, but with these streamers, you never know what day they're going to release something. So we have to be at their mercy a little bit. So next up, we have another season 2. This is our season 3 of season 2s, right? We've covered so many shows that are season 2. So we have Fallout on Amazon Prime. This first season dropped last year. I think that pretty much exactly a year ago, and everyone was, up in arms about it. Like, wow, this is crazy. Like, a lot of people have played the game. I have not. I don't think you have either.
No, I
So
started to, but I
yeah,
couldn't
oh,
finish it.
okay.
I'm not an RPG guy.
Oh, okay. So you know a little bit about it. My husband has played the game but not watched the show, so it's kind of the reverse. So I don't know, maybe he'll watch it at some point, but yeah, it was much talked about the first season, so we'll see how much that continues. And until the next real review, Red and Red signing out.